Now this is one I've been meaning to do for ages, Spider-Man. I was determined that this would be the first Spider-Man game I cover on this channel because it was the first one I ever played back when I was about 8. Before this game I had seen the odd episode of the 90s cartoon but never got that into it. But for whatever reason, seeing an ad on TV showing a couple seconds of Spider-Man trying to web Scorpion before he breaks free had me thinking, whoa, this is the next level shit. And so my grandmother got me a pirate copy. I can say that were it not for this game, I may not have gotten into the hype for the first Sam Raimi film a couple of years later the way I did. I've not read the comics, so my Spider-Man experience is limited to the 3 Sam Raimi films, the MCU films, the 2 Spider-Verse films that are currently out, and I did go back and watch the entire 90s cartoon a couple of years back, along with some very vague memories of some CG cartoon in the early 2000s, plus a selection of games. But being on the internet as much as I am, I do pick up on the odd controversy in the comics. I'd heard about One More Day and Superior Spider-Man as they happened, and I'm aware of Paul, that kind of stuff. I hadn't played this game in over 20 years. It took ages for me to be willing to spend the money on a legit PS1 version, but I found one in 2023. But a certain frustrating unlockable had me at a roadblock. So I redid everything by emulating the Dreamcast port, which is way too expensive for me physically, as it makes that one unlockable obtainable by normal humans. So I start a new game on normal difficulty, showing that each of the game's 6 chapters gets its own comic book cover, starting with the bank heist. We get the opening showing Otto Octavius claiming to have created some new device that will improve everyone's lives, somehow. Peter Parker is in the audience as the only one who knows that he is actually Doc Ock in this universe. Elsewhere, Eddie Brock is taking photos of the event, hoping they'll fix his declining career. Backstage, the security is under attack, which turns out to be from Spider-Man, which confuses Peter. He can't get into his costume and exposes the imposter due to being surrounded by too many fleeing silhouettes. Eddie tries to get a good picture, knowing Jameson would pay through the roof for something like that. He bumps into Peter but soon gets distracted with his pictures. The fake Spider-Man steals Octavius' device. He also spots Eddie and destroys his camera before running off. Eddie has a breakdown imagining the abuse he'll be getting from Jameson, allowing Venom to take control and begin a quest to bring Spider-Man to justice. We then cut to a barely hidden Doc Ock and Carnage, revealing the theft was planned. Phase 2 has them activate the device, which releases a gas all over the streets of New York to give the developers good reason to have all outdoor stages consist of only rooftops. And so the first level starts, Get to the Bank. Each chapter has an opening narration by Stan Lee, and this game was what made me aware of him. I was a bad listener as a kid and even worse at retaining dialogue without subtitles, so it took a few playthroughs back then for it to sink in who he was. You know, despite Spider-Man co-creator Stan Lee here being among the first words heard in the narration. Peter crawls onto a roof, following a helicopter. Black Cat drops down behind him and fills him in on what's happening. The bank is being robbed and hostages have been taken. She points out the Spidey compass in the corner of the screen that points you in the direction you need to go. She then leaves, but seconds later I touch the nearby question mark to summon her again to explain web swinging. I can swing twice from a single jump, but this first one doesn't require that. I do have to keep an eye on my web cartridges and keep them stocked up by collecting the blue spider logos. I can hold a maximum of 10 of those. On to the next roof where there's a guy with a gun and the next question mark has Black Cat explain combat. There are punch and kick buttons that can be pressed in different orders for a few different combos. They also have some web attacks which I'll get to when I use them. I swing to the next building where Peter's spider sense goes off. This happens to warn me that I'm approaching enemies. At the top of this one I can show off the very speedy dive kick and take the guy out before he can shoot me. Over to the next building where there's another grunt to take out when I climb near the top. And at the very top I have Peter murder this man by launching him off the roof. Swinging to the next building the police helicopters are near finishes the level. The police helicopters approach the bank, assuming Spider-Man is behind the robbery, but the robbers had their own helicopter with missiles and they shoot the police out of the sky. Peter crawls out of the cutscene into the next level, Bank Approach. Black Cat is in shock, while Peter bets they'll blame him for that too. He prepares to head for the bank and is warned that the chopper dropped off a ton of armed robbers. Rather than swinging straight ahead, I go off to the left. I can reach the Baxter building, which has Peter wonder where the Fantastic Four are during all this. On top is a collectible, a comic cover. I can view these in the gallery. This one is Amazing Spider-Man number 1. First appearance of Jameson, his son, the Daily Bugle, and the Chameleon. I get back on the normal path. Peter starts giving the tutorials now, explaining health pickups. I swing to the bank that Peter says he can get inside through the top. At the top is a few members of the Jade Syndicate. I don't know if that's from the comics, I assume so. They aren't very smart though. Instead of trying to shoot me, they just swing their guns around. By pressing back and web at the same time, you can pull the webbed enemy towards you to deck them in the face. Take them all out and Peter breaks in through the roof, hoping the hostages are alright. This leads into hostage situation. Right away there's a robber patrolling this hallway. I get to show off the incredible range of the dive kick as Spidey zips along the entire corridor. That draws the attention of another, and as I turn to fight him, I can see a hostage trapped in a big room. Past him are hostages trapped in their cubicles. They spot me and aim at one, but the dive kick saves his life. Their focus on me lets the hostage escape. Some objects can be picked up, like this chair, and thrown. Another room with a locked door has a switch inside that controls the security doors. On the floor is a fallen grate. One of my web maneuvers is the zip line that lets me shoot straight up. Using it on top of the grate lets me zip up into the air vent. Follow that and drop down into the room where there are 3 switches. By pressing either left or right, I can't remember, and the weapon button, I can create web gloves to give my punches a temporary damage boost. Switch 1 opens the door to the room with the hostage, freeing them. Switch 2 opens the door to this room so I can get out. Switch 3 opens the door to the next room, where a couple more robbers come running in from. With the web gloves they only take 2 hits to the feet. There are 3 more hostages outside the cubicles in this room. I sneak up on the gunmen by crawling along the ceiling and take them out. Must make sure they're too busy being hit or they will shoot fleeing hostages, and even one death results in replaying the level. Picking up one of the chairs in the first cubicle will make another comic cover appear. This one is Amazing Spider-Man number 200, where Peter confronts Uncle Ben's killer. At the end of the room is a lift that ends the level. The final level of this chapter is Stop the Bomb. I have another row of cubicles filled with hostages to free. I manage the first 2 gunmen before I get spotted. They also take the chance to throw this massive chair at a guy's head so hard it shatters. Then again with a potted plant. I enjoyed that. That's the first room cleared, so I have to zipline through another vent into the next. While taking out the gunmen here, I show off the impact web with forward and web, a basic projectile. Taking out those 2 has the security doors open and another come through. As I move into the next room, Peter centers more hostages and a bomb. I press the green security switch to open the door to them. They respond by activating the bomb and leaving me with 2 minutes to sort it out. While fighting the 3 gunmen, I use the web dome with the opposite direction to the web gloves. It damages several enemies in the surrounding area. Once the hostages are free, I follow them back into the previous room. My next comic has appeared, Spider-Man number 1, The Death of Captain Stacy. Back to the bomb, I press the other switch here to open the bank vault. I then pick up the bomb, carry it back and throw it in there. I'm sure the person whose gold bars I blew up doesn't mind. Peter leaves a couple gunmen on the roof for the police and swings off. The next chapter begins, Sting of the Scorpion. Peter calls Jameson to tell him he has photos of the robbery, but Jameson is under attack from Scorpion, who smacks his phone out of his hand. The first stage of this chapter is Race to the Bugle. As someone who knew pretty much nothing about Spider-Man when I first played this, I did appreciate the narration explaining that Scorpion wants to kill Jameson for trapping him inside the suit. Also, Ghost Rider wasn't supposed to ride down that building in a normal run. At the top of the screen is a marker showing how close Scorpion is to Jameson. Apparently it's going to take him a couple minutes to take a few steps across that small room. There are gunmen across the roofs, but they aren't worth spending time on. So I just swing from building to building following the Spidey compass. On the way is this large building with 3 roofs at different heights. On the second roof is my next comic, Amazing Spider-Man number 25, the earliest cameo appearance of Mary Jane. And while this is going on, Scorpion is throwing out the death threats. At the top of this building I have to overhear a couple more gunmen waiting for Spider-Man to appear so they can get paid for killing him. They get a couple shots and a punch in, but I ignore them. One even shoots me in the arse as I'm getting away. Then a few more buildings and dodging gunmen until the Daily Bugle comes into view. Swinging to that completes the level. Spidey vs Scorpion is the next level. Jameson tries bargaining with Scorpion, saying there may be a way to get him out of the suit with our hot new year 2000 tech. When that doesn't work, he tries the zero sympathy insult the guy further route.
Get over it, Gargan!
But Spider-Man shows up just in time. Jameson feels ripped off to have him as his rescuer. He's still clinging to that cigar too, so I have to take out Scorpion before he beats Jameson to death. He gets a few hits in, because to make a comic appear I have to destroy everything in this room. So I throw everything at Scorpion. Chair, desk, filing cabinets. Scorpion can help me out by destroying whatever Jameson is hiding behind because he's such a nice guy. Once Scorpion is reduced to half health, Jameson runs into the next room. Scorpion blows a hole in the wall and follows. The comic appears when Jameson is near death. Amazing Spider-Man number 20, Scorpion's first appearance. Now to finish Scorpion. Fighting hand to hand isn't the best idea because Scorpion is stronger and can just deck you to the ground. So webbing him first and then dive kicking him lets me whittle away what was left, the odd impact web too. So despite this chapter being named after Scorpion, he's dealt with in just the second of its 7 levels. Jameson thinks Spider-Man has an ulterior motive for saving him, and when the police show up, he demands they shoot him for the Science Expo heist. Peter escapes and runs into Daredevil. This is the game that taught me that Daredevil exists. He needs to make sure that Spider-Man didn't actually do the heist, despite his existing doubts. Peter tells Daredevil his side of events, and Daredevil knows he's telling the truth, warning him to get going as the police are closing in. He goes off to spread the word of Spider-Man's innocence. Then a helicopter shows up, leading into police chopper chase. We have a few of these police chase levels in a row. I have to jump across rooftops, avoiding machine gun fire, more police on SWAT, and missiles that give me a warning of where they're going to hit by showing a reticle. There's also ads for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, since it was also made by Neversoft and Spider-Man was a guest character in it. So I just keep jumping across the roofs as the chopper blows up everything on them. There's this one building at the end with a door that opens to release more cops. I need to let a bit of it get blown up to reveal the next comic, Amazing Spider-Man number 16, the first appearance of Daredevil in a Spider-Man comic. Swinging to the next building completes the level. Missile attack is the next stage. I have to climb the abandoned building, avoiding the missiles that only ever aim at the boarded up windows. I also have to stay away from the searchlights to avoid being shot with bullets. Being hit by a missile is pretty much an instant kill. I died here a few times on the abandoned PS1 playthrough too, despite never once dying here as a kid. I don't normally get worse at a game as I get older. After a few floors of this, I reach a checkpoint and get a sniper aiming at me. It's actually really easy to avoid, and after that is avoiding more missiles, where I jump right into one's path and die again. Next time I get to the very top and get shot down at the last second. Next time I get up to the top though. This leads into building top chase, still avoiding the same chopper, back to jumping across roofs. But here we have larger gaps to swing across and construction sites with girders to navigate. A few buildings in is a crane with a picture of the pumpkin on the side. I can swing over and drop inside to find the spider armour, a second health bar, some pumpkin bombs, the only reference to the Green Goblin in the PS1 duology, outside the comics like the one I collect here, Amazing Spider-Man number 39, where the Goblin manages to unmask Peter before ending up in an explosion that gives him amnesia. After that he's swinging across more buildings and climbing another abandoned one before I reach the top. Big mistake, as the missiles up here wipe out my armour and my life in a couple seconds. Next time I climb through the hole the chopper blows in it and then swing across a couple boxes held by cranes, then another construction site, then to a building that completes the level. Scale the girders is next, another building to climb, but first I drop down to look for a comic. I screw up and run Spidey off the edge to his death in the kryptonite fog below. Next time I climb around to find it. It's Amazing Spider-Man number 400, the death of Aunt May. I climb to the top and have a long sequence of girders to climb while avoiding sniper fire. I just stick to the same corner and keep switching sides. That has me reach the top in no time. I run along the crane up here and swing to the crate held up by another one. It gets shot down and Peter falls for a bit before swinging to the next level. Police Evaded is the final level of this chapter. It's a mix of all the chase levels that have come before. Across crates held up by cranes, girders, boarded up buildings. A few buildings in is one with a glass roof that gets shot open. I drop through and lightly tap these windows to make them shatter, revealing the next comic to collect, Amazing Spider-Man number 14, the first appearance of the Green Goblin. After that, the rest of the level has nothing really new. I reach a crane and swing over to the building at the end to finish the chapter. While Peter avoids a helicopter, he smashes over a transmitter tower and has to back off. The spider sense goes off and Peter nearly webs Black Cat to the wall. They have two problems at once. First is Venom broadcasting a message for Spider-Man at Times Square. Meanwhile, Rhino is also causing a mess at Omnitech. Times Square is on the way to Rhino, so they check out Venom's message first. He has kidnapped Mary Jane, who in this universe is married to Peter, and says she has 24 hours to live. Black Cat offers to go after Rhino alone while Peter deals with Venom, but he can't ignore those whose lives are at risk from Rhino in favour of his own loved ones. So they'll both deal with Rhino first, then Venom. This leads to the third chapter, Rhino's Rampage, also the shortest with just the one boss level, Spidey vs Rhino. They arrive at Omnitech but are too late to stop another big heist. They wonder where Rhino is just before he gores Black Cat away from behind. He then aims for Peter and charges into the boss fight, where I automatically dodge and let his head get stuck in the wall. Rhino likes to charge a lot, and when his head gets stuck in the wall you can get some minuscule damage in. Trying to fight him up close just gets you slapped down to the ground like with Scorpion. The key to beating Rhino is in the machinery in the middle of the arena. But a comic requires destroying all these explosive barrels. I can throw them or have Rhino charge into them. There are 3 or 4 barrels in 3 corners of the arena for a total of 11. Making Rhino ram his head into most of them has him down to 2/3 health. The comic appears in the centre, Amazing Spider-Man number 41, Rhino's first appearance. After that I took so much damage baiting him into the barrels that one more hit kills me. Next time I bait him into charging into the machinery and electrocuting himself. Each of the 4 posts can be used twice to this. It deals with most, but not all of his health. After that I get way too close when, a hit from death, I throw an impact web when he charges right to my face and defeat him at the last second. The police show up again, along with Doc Ock, who arrests Rhino for them, making Peter consider if he has actually reformed. So he takes a chance to go and look for Black Cat. He sees her being strapped down and carried into the back of an ambulance. She warns him that they aren't real paramedics before they slam the doors. Meanwhile, in the driver's seat, Ock and Carnage have a good chuckle before they drive off with her. Peter doesn't do anything, just shakes his head disapprovingly. After the shortest chapter, we have Enter Venom, the longest one, taking up just under a third of the game's levels. This cutscene blew my mind as a kid. I had seen a little bit of the 90s Fantastic Four cartoon before this game. I didn't have a concept of the Marvel Universe yet, so seeing Spider-Man and the Human Torch chatting like it was a normal thing was insane to me. Peter's having a mope about how he can't find Venom, and the Human Torch is just like, you'll figure it out. While swinging, Venom gets him by surprise and challenges him to a race, leading to the chapter's first level, Catch Venom. So for this level, I can't let Venom get so far ahead that my icon stays at the other side of the bar at the top too long, or he gets away and I fail the level. The level looks mostly straightforward, but it was my first roadblock when I played this as a kid. Venom can sometimes lead you away from his path, take unexpected turns, or just teleport to throw you off and get away while you can't see him. This first attempt doesn't go well when my web swing targets a building I wasn't aiming for, and when I get up on a roof, I get stuck on Spider-Man's greatest weakness, a TV antenna, allowing Venom to get away. Next time I swing less carelessly. I never noticed the Stark Solutions building as a kid, but then again at that age I only knew Iron Man's first name from the 2 seconds of a 90s cartoon that I can remember, and I only remember those 2 seconds because they taught me his first name. The girders always threw me off as a kid, it likes to mess you about in here. There's some more armour and a comic to pick up. This one is Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man number 41, which includes a fake meeting between Spider-Man and the Human Torch at the Statue of Liberty. After following Venom enough here, we get a cutscene where he swings off into a building and all we can hear is Peter chasing him through several rooms, seeing a desk get thrown out of the windows and hearing a few randomised voice clips. I get Peter stubbing his toe twice in a row. They leave out the other side. The second building of this section has a second comic, Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man number 76, which also includes Black Cat almost getting killed. There's nothing much to say about the rest of the level, I just follow Venom to this billboard and he jumps through into the street below. Spidey vs Venom next. In the alley below, Venom calls for Spider-Wuss to come out, resulting in having his head jumped on. Peter is so ready to kick Venom's head in, you get automatic web gloves to start the fight with. Venom can be tough, as this arena is small and he's both faster and stronger than you. He can also web you in himself from a distance, along with picking up, licking you and throwing you away. I pick up the car nearby to reveal a comic underneath and feel great dissatisfaction when I fail to land the throw. The comic is Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars number 8, the first appearance of the symbiote suit. Venom's jumping all over the place and I can barely hit him, while he's already destroyed my spider armour. My main strategy is tap web for a split second and use the short time he's tangled to get a hit or two in, then jump far away and repeat. Thankfully there are health refills here, and some crates I can bean him with for more damage than any of my own moves. I get close, but his teleporting finishes me, as I can't get him on screen before he webs me into the death blow. Next time I do worse. Next time I get him by webbing him and shooting an impact web. It's more damaging than punching him. For some reason, this FMV cutscene has dogshit video quality compared to everything else in the game. Venom retreats into the sewer while Peter follows, into the level Sewer Entrance. While Peter recovers from the huge drop, Venom mocks him and runs off. I follow him through a door into a cave tunnel. This is where we meet the main enemy for this chapter, Experiments of the Lizard. They take more hits than anything else so far and can spit acid or something at you. Past them is a series of horizontal pipes over a pit. Reaching here spawns the level's comic, but I forget about it for a bit. I cross all the way to the other side where the door closes behind me and more lizards take me on. I take them out to see Peter run to the other door.
Open this door!
Who is it?
So, the only other Venoms I've been properly exposed to are the 90s cartoon and the third Raimi film, and I guess Marvel vs Capcom if you want to count that. But this one is the most memorable to me and the one that comes to mind first. The next level starts and I realise I missed the comic, so I quit and restart. Once I reach the pipe room I have to turn around and go back. That's where I'll find Amazing Spider-Man number 229, the part of the Clone Saga where Peter retires for a bit and lets Ben Reilly take over. Now to the next level, Sewer Cavern. The door opens and Venom runs off, while I have to follow him across more pipes. The guide I was using said the comic was behind the waterfall. Well, that's a waterfall, so I jump to it and fall to my death. After the second pipe, there are a series of vertical pipes off to the side. Here I'm taught I have a targeting mode that will allow me to aim my jumps and swings to where I want to go perfectly. Now I can see a room behind the waterfall. I swing over to that and get my comic, Spider-Man #1 by Todd McFarlane, the Silver Edition. I swing across more pipes to reach the door into another lizard-filled tunnel. At the end, Venom passes by on a subway train and I get on to start the next level, Subway. Here I have the train's progress on the bottom of the screen. I just have to fight off lizards and survive to the other side without falling off. Just dive kick, that sends them flying off. The web dome works too. There's the odd refill pickups passing by, but apart from that, there isn't much to say about it. I have seen this one called one of the harder levels, but this is actually one I have never had a problem with. After getting to the end, I get a cutscene of Venom appearing behind Peter and smacking him off the train and down a hole. Now for the halfway point of this chapter, Sewage Plant. I come to, finding more lizards approaching me. I run forward until I find a fork and take the left. The next comic is at the end of this path. It's Peter Parker Spider-Man #1, the version B reprint. This is the first appearance of the Ranger. I have no idea who that is. Back to the fork and taking the right path to find a grate at the end. I climb into the vent above me where more lizards are waiting. It leads to some water with a switch on the other side that I can turn on with my web. This drains the water temporarily so I can drop down, run through the tunnel and zipline back up before it refills and drowns me. There are 3 switches here. The last one I activate shows a grate opening elsewhere, and some more lizards crawl from where I came from. This also shows me a 4th switch that drains the water again so I can go back. The grate was opposite the water and leads to even more with another switch to pull to do it all again. Here there are more lizards and more switches to pull. They open another grate. This one is the first one I pointed out before the first vent. Another switch to drain more water and zip line up to the next level. Hidden Switches is a very simple level. There are 4 switches in each corner of the level, one of them green. Press the green one to turn the next one green and do all 4 while not being killed by lizards. After pressing all 4, the water is drained. The comic appears in front of the 3rd switch, Peter Parker Spider-Man #1, the version A reprint. Then I drop down and go through the door into Tunnel Crawl. I head forward to see Venom zoom by to the left. I follow him through a grate to a tunnel I have to crawl along the ceiling to. The ceiling level is always rising and lowering, as is the water level. I have to time my crawling just right to avoid drowning. Although Spidey's entire head can be submerged without him drowning. I push my lucker to later dip though and actually drown. At the other end I crawl through another grate. It leads to another room where the water is still rising and lowering. I swing to the pipe in the middle, but press jump too late and slip into the water. Next time I make it across and pull the switch at the end to drain the water and raise the pipe. Venom sneaks up from behind and knocks me over. I drop down to the bottom to fight off some lizards. There's a switch down here that opens another tunnel, and behind the box behind it, the comic Spectacular Spider-Man #158, where Spider-Man gains the powers of Captain Universe. The tunnel I open ends the level. Another easy one next, Venom's Puzzle. Venom flees past a series of doors that all close behind him. Behind my starting position is a shaft filled with switches. Each one operates a certain combination of doors. It's easy. I press the one that operates the 1st and 3rd, then the one right below that opens the 2nd and 4th. I follow Venom into Lizard's maze. Venom appears at the start and we get to fight a bit before he disappears again. I next have this huge grating to crawl along through this tunnel. I follow it around, having to avoid crushers until I find a pair of tunnels to the left and right. I go right and run into Venom again, but I jump over him and keep moving. I cross the water into another tunnel and keep along until I run into the lizard. Venom has imprisoned him here and has taken over the entire lair, including the lizard men I've been fighting. It's also where he's keeping Mary Jane. He gives me the instructions to get through the maze. Once I gain control, a comic is in front of me. But as soon as I grab it, I fail to grab the ceiling and drown in the sewer water. The comic is Amazing Spider-Man #6, the first appearance of the lizard. As to those directions, back along this tunnel, cross 2 waterways, go right at the 3rd waterway, around the corners, past the machinery, skip the next tunnel, then go right at the next one. I reach the end and follow Venom into Spidey vs Venom again. Mary Jane is chained up down below, above some water that Venom makes rise by pressing a switch. So I have to fight Venom while also turning off all the switches he keeps pulling before the water gets high enough to drown Mary Jane. He has the exact same moveset, he just teleports around a lot more in the much bigger arena. I prefer to try webbing Venom, then getting in an impact web while he struggles. But there are moments when he teleports away where I end up webbing a switch on by mistake. This strategy works very well, and Venom keeps teleporting very close to me, so I defeat him in no time. While continuing to punch Venom in the face, Peter asks why he even came back. When he finds out it's over the Science Expo heist, he beats Venom up even more for being stupid, reminding him that he was in the audience while the imposter Spider-Man was on stage, so it couldn't be him. Once it clicks that he was wrong, the chain holding Mary Jane breaks, but Venom catches her before she can hit the water.
You and your wife are innocent, Parker. Our bad.
Our bad? Our bad? I'm gonna kill
Peter
you!
Parker! Just get me out of here now!
bummer. You're in the doghouse now, dude.
And that's Mary Jane's last appearance in this continuity. We never actually see her get pulled out of that hole, she doesn't appear for the rest of the game, doesn't appear in the sequel, and I'm not sure if she's even mentioned. I wonder if something happened between games. Oh, and while I'm at it, I have always needed subtitles to fully understand things. I'm not hard of hearing, but especially as a kid I found it very easy to misunderstand or mishear dialogue, and sometimes that could take my understanding of things on a whole journey, like with this.
So, we're partners, but only for now. After we bust those tech thieves, it's payback time for kidnapping my wife.
We're partners. That's what he says. Anyone without hearing difficulties can tell that's what he said. Not me. I thought he said, we're Parkers. Like, he's part of the family until they deal with this case. Like, Peter's fostering Venom for the rest of the game or something. And that mishearing stuck with me for years. It just bothered me that Peter would welcome Venom into his family seconds after trying to drown his wife. Is he that forgiving? Is he stupid? Is that why neither Venom nor Mary Jane are in the sequel? Did she get custody of Venom in the divorce? I'd like to say that was just a thing with spoken dialogue, but wait until I eventually get to some games with a lot of text I played that young. But back to the game. Peter reasons that with the imposter being a shapeshifter, it was either Mysterio or the Chameleon. Venom thought the Chameleon, but Peter then asks who would actually want Octavius' tech. Venom's guesses don't help. The Submariner, Thor, and Galactus. I'm just imagining Galactus' gigantic fingertip creeping on stage with a shitty drawing of Spider-Man on it and everyone buying it. Peter decides he needs Jameson's help, or more specifically, his computer database.
Ooh, are we gonna surf the web?
I am ashamed to say that it took me until writing this video, at 31 years old, 24 years after this game's release, to realise that Venom was making a pun there. I thought the joke was just that Venom sat at a computer using the internet was itself a funny image. Look, back when I first played this game, I didn't even have internet. I didn't even really know what the web was yet. But enough tangents, the 5th chapter is The Invasion, starting with Symbiotes Infest Bugle. Inside the Bugle, Peter is looking for any info he can, while Venom is still on about surfing the web. That is until he senses Carnage nearby and abandons the mission, jumping out the window to go look for a fight. And to make things worse, the place is swarming with symbiotes. They're looking for human hosts, so I have to save whatever staff are still in the building. Symbiotes are the toughest enemies in the game. They can deal a lot of damage and have a lot of health. Even a whole desk to the head doesn't bother them that much. And they can zip around the place and their stretchiness gives them good range. They actually die fighting the first one. Instead I ignore them and run off into the next room. I see a grate on the floor and zip line into the vent. Staff are trapped in the vents, but the vents are all gunked up with symbiote goo. I drop back down and head to the other side of the room, breaking open a window to let another guy escape. There's another vent in here and another guy behind goo. I finally kill a single symbiote up here using about 15,000 impact web shots. I drop down another vent nearby to find the switch that operates the aircon. The fan blades shred the goo and the man can escape. The next room has a switch that opens up a lift, having Peter comment that they are coming from the basement. But going there ends the level and I'm not done. Back to the start, I forgot the switch I can web through the broken window that turns on the fan in the first vent I entered. Where that last hostage was is the comic Amazing Spider-Man number 42, the first full appearance of Mary Jane. I can now finish the level into elevator descent. This one did my head in. The lift descends while symbiotes drop down for a fight. Eventually the lift gets stuck and I have to sort it out. I drop down onto the gunk floor before remembering the switch is higher up, giving the symbiote down below the chance to spit away most of my health. There's a symbiote up here where the switch is, but I get a lucky web shot on it to make the lift move again so I don't have to fight it. I miss the lift when I jump for it, and while on the wall, the symbiote down the bottom gets one last spit on to finish me. Next time, the lift breaks through the goo and drops me down to some more. There are 2 closed doors with switches next to them, but there are 2 symbiotes down here and I use up all my webbing on them before they kill me again. And then I get slapped off the lift to my death. It's not until like my 6th or 7th attempt that I manage to open the left door. Inside is the comic Amazing Spider-Man number 100, where Peter's attempt to remove his powers as a potion has him grow extra arms. I take out the symbiotes down here and the lift plummets, wiping out all the goo, but leaving a pit for me to fall down and die in. 3 attempts later, I manage to open the right door and go through to finish this one. Stop the Pressers is next. Jameson has somehow missed that his printing room is also hiding symbiote generators. I have to take out the 2 brain-looking things on each side to destroy them, learning there are 3 more. Run to the end of that room and turn left to another to see the 2nd generator up a ramp and destroy that. This opens up the door to the next room, where the 3rd generator is out in the open. Next to it is a stack of newspaper rolls I can pick up to reveal the next comic, Amazing Spider-Man number 50, the first appearance of the Kingpin. When I watched the 90s cartoon all the way through a couple years back, I did get a bit tired of the Kingpin by the end for how ubiquitous he was in that series. I also got tired of Morbius' subplot in Season 2 and was glad when that was done. In the back is the room with the exit and a huge newspaper roll to avoid. There's a switch that opens up another door to the last generator so I can destroy it. I return to the exit and move on to the Bugle's basement. I take the first left I can see and the pressure from a steam pipe blows up the door. There's another generator to destroy, leaving just one more. There's also several furnaces down here, and since a symbiote weakness is fire, it finally gives an easy method to kill them. Back out of that room, I can cross another furnace, being able to see the imposter in the far back as I fail the jump and burn to death. I get across and see several steam pipes burst and stun lock me for a ton of health. They can be fixed by webbing them though. Web these free and a box will break to reveal Amazing Spider-Man number 13, Mysterio's first appearance. Also, fire webbing. It just lasts for a cartridge, but it utterly destroys symbiotes, has them burst into flames and everything. I move forward and turn right at the gate, crossing the fallen lift into the next corridor, which leads to a hole I can zip line through to find and pull another switch. It opens up the last grate I turned at, and nearby opens up the room to the last symbiote generator. I then pass through the grate and finally meet the imposter. He copies all of Peter's moves before he runs off into the last level of the chapter. Peter confronts the imposter, who reveals himself to be Mysterio. He also grows to a gigantic size. So, Spidey vs Mysterio. This was the part I got stuck on longest as a kid. I never actually worked out all the web skills by the time I got here, and he's only damaged by impact webs. It wasn't until I gave up and lent the game to my grandmother that she figured it out easily. There are 3 floors, not counting the bottom, and Mysterio has 2 conduits on his body on each floor. 2 shots will destroy them. While on the top floor I have to avoid him grabbing me, which will result in him chucking me to the very bottom. After that, spiked rollers start moving along the floor as I take out the bottom 2 conduits. In the middle floor he'll try to smash me with his fists, but I destroy the last 2 conduits. This electrifies all the floors and spawns a comic near his shins. This one is Amazing Spider-Man number 311, which is part of some big multi-book crossover event. He's gained 2 more conduits on his chest and these ones fire lasers. They're tough to outrun and I die when he keeps changing direction and getting me before I can react. Next time I just go fuck it and brute force. I win the damage race on his conduits, leaving just his now red dome to shoot, but the electric floor takes the last of my health. I get him next time though, reducing Mysterio to his normal height. Peter interrogates Mysterio, who refuses to tell him anything. He says that despite his defeat, the symbiote invasion will continue. The fog covering New York was developed to slowly convert the population into symbiotes. So Peter punches his dome through. That works, and Mysterio tells him they're coming from Warehouse 65 by the waterfront. Peter tells him whoever is behind it is an idiot because nobody can control the symbiotes. We move on to the final chapter, To Trap a Spider, and its first level, Waterfront Warehouse. Another character this game was my first exposure to is the Punisher, who has Peter in his sights before he spots the Punisher and webs his scope. They quickly work out they have the same aim and the Punisher leads Peter to the warehouse. The Punisher suggests a team up, but Peter doesn't want anyone getting shot to shit, plus his guns won't work on the symbiotes anyway. Of course, the place is crawling with them and I can see another generator during the narration, followed by the camera focusing on a second one. Taking out the first reveals there are 4 more, and then I take out the second. A series of crates point out the passage to the next room. I go through and at the fork, turn left to find and destroy the third generator. The other path takes me to a room filled with metal crates where I swing to the right to destroy the 4th generator, then drop down for the last one. I break one side, but before I can destroy it completely, I run out of webbing for the first time ever when playing this game. Thankfully there's a fire cartridge nearby, but you don't need to web them, that's just faster. Punching them works too. Hidden under one of the crates here is Amazing Spider-Man number 129, the first appearance of the Punisher. I go through the nearby vent and drop down. I follow the vents and keep dropping further, making sure not to get diced in the fans. When I see a damaged crate, I break it open, and behind it I find Amazing Spider-Man number 15, first appearance of Kraven the Hunter. I then finish the level by dropping down this long vent. It leads into Underwater Trench, by far my least favourite level in the game, and it's all thanks to the comic. I go through the first door and...
You gotta be kidding. Okay, recap. A couple of 100 feet underwater, electrified floors and walls, and deadly turrets pointing straight at me.
Well, it's normally not that bad. I have to swing between the platforms holding the turrets and take them out with impact webs. Or you could just do what I did and ignore them. Swing right through and you could make it to the door to the other side, no problem. Through the door is another room with all the same obstacles, just with a different platform layout. I take a few hits speeding through, but it's better than what you'd normally take if you stayed still to actually fight them. Through the next door, hidden in the corner, is a switch that opens up a door all the way back in the first electric turret room, just lower than the one I entered. Now, the platform layouts made getting through it easy normally, not so much on the way back. I jump back out, confident I can swing to the closest platform, then land on the floor and get fried. I'm just going to skip over all the failed attempts to get back to that door because they aren't interesting. Eventually, I make it down to that door. In here is Amazing Spider-Man number 2, the first appearance of the Vulture. And I die on the way back when a turret zaps me out of my jump and down to the floor. I got quite stressed during that and kept falling for easy deaths for a while, but I eventually make it through to the third electric turret room. I swing to the first platform, overthink things and let myself get lasered to death. Next time I just get up there and keep swinging between them until I reach the end and finish this thing. Stopping the fog is the last normal level in the game. As the title implies, the fog is coming from here. I have a generator spawning symbiotes that cannot be destroyed, and if I climb up it I can find some spider armour in an alcove. But underneath the floor is another alcove with my next comic, Spider-Man 2099 number 1, first appearance of Miguel O'Hara. There's a lot of bridges here, but I take one to the room with a glowing green security control above it. We'd finally found Black Cat, locked inside a force field. She was drugged in the ambulance and woke up here. Shutting down the power should get her out. There's a switch in here that opens up most of the other doors. I go out and through the room opposite, Control Room C. Peter finds a switch that controls the exhaust ports, deciding to close them without stopping the flow of fog to build up pressure and blow the whole place up. The switch in here closes 2 of them and the pressure is already building. Control Room A next. 2 more ports closed, more pressure. That just leaves Control Room B for the last 2 and the place starts going up. The force field disappears so Black Cat can escape. Peter tells her to go find help while he finds out who's behind it. And even if you didn't work it out based on earlier cutscenes and the chapter cover, the save screen straight up says the next level is Spidey vs Doc Ock. Peter tries to reason with him that no one can control the symbiotes, but Ock's plan is for them to work as one. The symbiotes with his technology will allow humanity to advance to their next level. When Ock gets his claws out, Venom finally appears to take on Carnage next to him. Their fight takes him out of the room so I can take on Ock one-on-one. He's surrounded by a barrier that works one way. I can't hit through it, but he can with his claws. Thankfully, Ock's a bit of a dipshit and he has switches lower that when pressed drain energy away from it. They do create barrier walls though, but they're easily jumped over. Flipping force switches turns off the barrier and stuns him, letting me get some hits in before it turns back on. With impact web spam, you can get him nearly done in one go. After the shield comes back for the first time, the comic appears for a limited time. Ock stuns me with his claws long enough for it to disappear, so I restart. Next time I grab it. It's Amazing Spider-Man number 3, Doc Ock's first appearance. One more loss of the barrier, and I shoot him to death. Ock passes out while Peter wonders how Venom is doing. Venom then comes flying in, defeated, leaving me to have to deal with Carnage. Spidey vs Carnage is another easy boss, compared to Venom 1 and Mysterio at least. Turns out Ock was keeping a sonic bubble hidden away in case Carnage turned on him, and now it's active. In the middle of the sonic bubble, the level's comic will appear for a bit and disappear, but it will keep reappearing until you grab it. It's Amazing Spider-Man number 33, where he fights Doc Ock while Aunt May is hospitalised. Carnage is strong and takes little damage, so it's best to put that sonic weakness to use. Something I haven't really used until now is the grab. When I grab an enemy, I can keep beating them or throw them. I throw Carnage into the bubble and if you do everything right, he's done. If you leave him, he'll get out, but if you spam the normal web shot, you can keep him in place long enough that when the bubble dies down, he can't move out before it starts up again. I make a few cock-ups, but it generally works and he's defeated. The Carnage symbiote abandons Cletus Cassidy and retreats below. Peter takes a moment to take in the job well done, but it's not over yet. The Carnage symbiote bonded with Doc Ock to create Monster Ock, and so the final level, Spidey vs Monster Ock. This is less a boss fight and more of a long chase. If Monster Ock catches up to me, it's an instant death. Also, the whole place is exploding around me. I'm basically just swinging along these corridors in a square, having to regularly zipline straight up to reach the next floor. It's tense when you're playing it, but it doesn't give me much to talk about in terms of layout or progress. Early on is a comic, Amazing Spider-Man number 252, the first appearance of a symbiote suit within a Spider-Man comic. So, Monster Ock, created for and I believe still to this day exclusive to this game. I've seen plenty of people who were afraid of Monster Ock as kids. I can say playing it was tense as hell and had me nervous of being caught and having to repeat it, but even as a kid who was afraid of everything, Monster Ock never scared me. Maybe it's because it looks like he has a snout right between his eyes. It also always bothered me that his icon showing how close to you he is looks nothing like his head on his model. He doesn't wear glasses or have hair. But even playing in 2024, the level had me sweating a bit. He can really get close to you out of nowhere. I end up with an issue near the end where I accidentally do a slow web swing that keeps me in place just as the second comic appears. Taking the time to grab it lets Monsterot catch me, and is implied to rip Spidey to pieces as everything explodes around them. The final comic is Amazing Fantasy number 15, Spider-Man's first appearance. Nothing else to say other than on the second attempt, I make it. The explosions catch up to Ock and engulf him while Peter manages to get out at the last second. The symbiote leaves Ock, having saved him from incineration. Who knows what happened to Cletus Cassidy left all the way down at the bottom though. He carries Ock out with him and gets picked up by Venom, Black Cat and Captain America. This game was also the first thing I ever saw Captain America in too. Never heard of him before this game. Cap says Black Cat called him for help just in time, while Venom nags Peter to get him his autograph. We then cut to Spidey, Cap, Punisher and Daredevil playing Go Fish. They all have a bit of banter, and I realise I missed another joke as a kid.
Look who's talking, Daredevil. You've been looking at my cards all night.
I knew nothing about Daredevil until the Ben Affleck film 3 years later. I didn't know he was blind when I first played this. Also this.
Hey, loosen up, kids. I'm on fire!
Yes, I even missed that pun too back then. The fact he was literally on fire didn't cross my mind. I just thought he was very into his dance. Meanwhile, Scorpion, Rhino, Mysterio, Ock and the Jade Syndicate goon are sharing the same cell, also playing Go Fish. Scorpion had nothing to do with the main plot, so he's learning about what the rest were getting up to. Mysterio takes a chance to blame Ock for all of their failures, acting as if he always knew the symbiotes couldn't be controlled. Also, him having a pin-up girl with a bald head behind him is funny. Meanwhile, Rhino asks the important questions.
Hey, wait! So, I'm a rhino, you're a scorpion, and he's an octopus. What's a Mysterio?
So, Rhino, you got any threes?
Hey! Hey, I got a bingo! Ha ha! You guys think you're so smart, but I won! Ha! Who's your daddy, Doc Ock? Ha ha ha! Victory is mine! You're always laughing at me, but who's crying now, huh? Ha 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 ha! Wait a minute, I made a mistake.
And so the game ends on Doc Ock losing his mind and caving his head in against the cell bars. And as we can see over the credits, I unlocked a new costume. I've actually unlocked 4 new costumes in this playthrough. First we have the symbiote suit, which grants infinite webbing, very handy for later. Once again, when I first played this at 8, I didn't know the symbiote suit was an actual thing. I thought I'd just unlocked a Venom themed costume. I check out the extras. There's a character viewer with more narration from Stan Lee containing every character who has an in-game model, excluding the hostages. Something I never had the chance to bring up before is that all the character models and FMVs were retextured for this Dreamcast port. The sequel has a quick recap of the first game, and I always wondered why the footage looked so different. That's because it used the footage from the Dreamcast version, which I had never played back then. I can check out the comic covers I collected, the chapter covers and storyboards for the cutscenes. I can also check out the other costumes I've unlocked. Spider-Man 2099 deals double damage and is unlocked through collecting all the comics. Scarlet Spider and Ben Reilly's non-Scarlet suit are unlocked through playing the game normally. These two are just cosmetic and have no special abilities. I also first heard of Ben Reilly through this, and the Scarlet costume description, with no mention of cloning, made it sound to me like he was just some normal dude who had a breakdown and tricked himself into thinking he was Spider-Man. I did miss the other costume's mention of clones though. There are unlockables tied to more playthroughs, but first there's a training level since there's stuff to get there. I'll skim over these since they're more about getting you used to how the game plays. Time Attack just has me try out a 60 or 120 second fight against an endless wave of certain enemy types to see how many I can defeat. Survival mode is seeing how long I can last before the enemies overwhelm and kill me. There are 3 speed training levels to test how quickly I can swing across the roofs to the goal. Target Practice is a shooting gallery. I have to web the cutouts of the villains and avoid hitting the cutouts of heroes and friends. We get a few cameos from characters who don't appear in the game otherwise, like Vulture, Doctor Doom, Kraven, Tombstone, the Kingpin and so on. But Item Collection actually has some unlockables tied to it. First is Item Hunt. Collect all the items under a time limit. First the ones around me, then the floor opens up to grant access to more. If I open the floor within a minute, I can see a wall with a glowing question mark. Run through that to find Kraven the Hunter's weapon vault, and inside a token that unlocks the Peter Parker costume. This one handicaps me to a maximum of just 2 web cartridges. Why is he barefoot? The other model in the character viewer has shoes. That just leaves the reason I had to abandon everything I recorded from the PS1 until now to redo everything on the Dreamcast: zipline training. I have 90 seconds to move around the ceiling, drop down to collect the tokens, and zip back up before I land on the electric floor. The tokens furthest from the ceiling and closest to the floor are worth the most points and are the only way to get the costume I'm after. On the PS1 you needed to get 10,000 points, which means playing absolutely perfectly. I spent a few days in a row working on this, managing to get scores in the 7,000s and 8,000s before I gave up and put the game aside. On the Dreamcast, that requirement is lowered to 7,500 points, which while still hard, is more reasonable. It took a lot of time to get used to the strict timing again, since I've been away from it for about 2/3 of a year, but here it is.
Wouldn't wanna be ya.
My reward? The quick change costume. Not worth it. Another 2 web cartridge limit. All that struggling for a head swap of the Peter Parker costume with the exact same function. I swap back to the symbiote suit for what I have next. First I go into the password menu and type in OR2Cs to unlock What If contest. Then I start the game on hard difficulty, which usually limits you to 2 web cartridges, but with the symbiote suit's infinite webbing, it doesn't matter. What If mode makes a few changes to the game. The first level doesn't seem too different. I missed that a building had been changed to Neversoft's office. But once Bank Approach starts, I get a JPEG of Uatu the Watcher explaining that there will be changes of varying size. If I return to the Baxter building, the Human Torch is there. He says he can't help because they have to deal with Mole Man. In Hostage Situation, one of the rooms has had a dance floor added. Peter's dance is made up mostly of his different getting hit animations. In Stop the Bomb, Hans was here is written inside the vault. In Race to the Bugle, the dialogue is changed so that Peter, Jameson and Scorpion are playing Marco Polo. Also, that Ghost Rider cameo I pointed out earlier is supposed to be exclusive to What If. I don't know if that was a glitch or just a porting mistake. In Spidey vs Scorpion, Scorpion yells, "Here's Johnny" when he breaks through the wall. Police Chopper Chase has a huge blimp displaying Spider-Man's name. If you swing onto that, you get an alternate level. I ride the blimp while the chopper following me keeps shooting holes in it. I just have to survive for a bit until the blimp is destroyed and I'm dropped into the next level. There's always an advertisement for Wolverine on a talk show in Missile Attack, but now Peter will wonder out loud if all of Wolverine's bones are made of adamantium. Building Top Chase has the chopper pilot hum Fly to the Valkyries as he chases me. Catch Venom has a moment when they're in the building where they'll accidentally charge through a women's changing room. In Spidey vs Venom, Peter will be ticklish during Venom's grab and lick attack. In Sewer Entrance, one of the lizard men is shitting on the floor. In Subway, Venom can be heard parodying dialogue from Speed. Sewage Plant now has a rubber duck floating in the first pool of water I drain. Venom's puzzle replaced the water with lava, to which Peter mocks the supposed originality of it. In the Lizard's Maze, he'll get snippy with you if you ask for directions again. In Spidey vs Venom again, Mary Jane is far less patient with her impending murder by drowning, but she'll call you an idiot if you let a switch get turned on. In Symbiotes Infest Bugle, a hostage will quote the Game Over line from Aliens. In Elevator Descent, Peter quotes There Is No Spoon from The Matrix, which only came out the year before. In Stop the Presses, you can get a new death by jumping into the printing press and getting crushed. In Bugle's basement, I will remind you that The Matrix was still only the year before, and this specific parody would hang around for years still. In Spidey vs Mysterio, Mysterio has a goldfish swimming around his ball. Something to bring up is that with the symbiote suit, fire webbing is also infinite until you finish the level. This makes the symbiotes the easiest enemies in the game. In Waterfront Warehouse, one of the crates is hiding the Ark of the Covenant. You can't throw it around though. In Underwater Trench, a yellow submarine will challenge you to a race. If you reach the end before him, he'll tell you a cheat. I have the internet, so I don't need his help, so I don't even try. In Stopping the Fog, whatever they drug Black Cat with also makes her unable to stop dancing while music is playing. I especially like how she can stop to do a couple steps of her walk animation before she starts again. Also, I'm blocking the exhaust ports with giant bananas. In Spidey vs Doc Ock is tiny with a high-pitched voice and the arena is blinding. In Spidey vs Carnage, Carnage's voice is pitched up too. Namor the Submariner, another I was introduced to through this game, can also be seen watching the fight from outside. The last level has no change and I complete the game again. Completing the game on hard difficulty unlocks the Captain Universe costume, which makes you invincible, grants double strength and infinite webbing. As a kid, I thought this thing looked really cool. 24 years later and better picture quality, I actually think it looks hideous. It's probably better in the comics, but I just can't stand the red bit that covers the nose and mouth. It looks like a gigantic red beak. And now there's another costume for completing the game twice. I have done that, but changing the difficulty made it not count. I have to specifically choose the play again option in the menu for it to count as a second run. Well, I'm invincible, so there's nothing to say about this run. Completing the second run unlocks the Spider-Man Unlimited costume, which allows me to become invisible to regular enemies, but not bosses. That looks like all the costumes, but if I input the password Kick Me, I unlock the Amazing Bagman, another 2-web cartridge costume. I also got the Submariner in the character viewer. The PS1 version has a cheat that placed Joel Jewett, Neversoft co-founder, into the character viewer with Jameson's animations, but they removed it on the Dreamcast. But with that, Spider-Man is done. I'm glad to finally do this game. I've been wanting to do Spider-Man games and was set on this being the first one, so all the roadblocks I was having were driving me mad a bit. I still like this game. For a first attempt, it really got down the feeling of Spider-Man in 3D. It has a lot of the memorable characters as bosses. I love its version of Venom especially. The overall playthrough is short, but they added enough replay value with the extra modes and unlockables. There's a couple frustrating aspects I've shown, but that's true for any game. And of course I do have some emotional attachment because it was what made me like Spider-Man in the first place. And it gave me a small introduction to other parts of the Marvel Universe that have been the biggest things in the world the last few years, but I'd never heard of back then. It has been surpassed by some later Spider-Man games, of course it has, but I think this is still enjoyable and still worth a try today. As for the ranking, I went in not having any idea. I scroll up and up and up and get stuck around the late 60s and early 70s. I decided to let how far the nostalgia takes me up the list decide its placement, and it took it to 66th, above Kirby's Dream Land but below Dragon Quest 2. Maybe I was too generous, but this has never been or claimed to have been an objective ranking. I was unsure at first, but the more I look at it, the more it feels right to me. But yeah, I'm free to do more Spider-Man games in the future. Maybe I'll do its sequel next to finish off this universe, or maybe I'll go elsewhere. But I'm actually giving myself that option now.